Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from RAU'S IAS Study Circle. Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading from your UPSC perspective. Now today we shall discuss the important news which has appeared in the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 16th August 2020. The news to be discussed has been displayed on your screen and the timestamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So on this note, let's start our discussion from our mains as well as prelims perspective. The first news to be discussed appears on page number 7. It says, Government may review the age of marriage as per the Prime Minister of India. Now, Prime Minister of India on the eve of Indian independence on 15th August highlighted the fact that there is a need to increase the age of marriage among women from 18 to 21 years. And this decision has been taken by the government primarily on the aspect of health and nutrition among women as well as children, as early motherhood for women also impacts the health of a child. So in this regard, the Ministry of Women and Child Development has formed a 10-member panel or a 10-member committee to examine the age of motherhood, imperatives of lowering maternal mortality ratio, that is MMR, and also with respect to improvement of nutrition levels among women as well as children. So these are the parameters on which the committee formed by Ministry of Women and Child Development will look into this issue of increasing the age of marriage for women from the present 18 years to that of 21 years. Now here an important aspect to be understood is that there is an important correlation with respect to age of marriage and motherhood, and also with respect to health of the mother as well as child, medical well-being of both the mother as well as the newborn baby, as well as the nutritional status. And these aspects of health, medical well-being and nutritional status is not only relevant and important for the mother during the pregnancy but also after the pregnancy. So these are the aspects on which the government is now considering to increase the age of marriage for women from 18 years to 21 years. And in this regard, the government has formed a committee in June 2020. So from the perspective of health of women as well as children, this topic becomes very important for our upcoming prelims as well as mains examination. This topic also becomes important as the task force or the committee will also look into the important development parameters such as infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, total fertility rate, sex ratio at birth as well as child sex ratio. Now, infant mortality rate measures death of infants under 1 year of age per 1000 live births, and it is calculated as number of resident infant deaths divided by number of resident live births into 1000. So this formula gives us the infant mortality rate. Now, maternal mortality rate refers to death of women while being pregnant or death within 42 days of termination of pregnancy per 1 lakh live births. So this is the meaning of maternal mortality rate. Further, total fertility rate refers to total number of children born or are likely to be born to a woman in her lifetime. Further, sex ratio at birth refers to number of girls born for every 1000 boys, and child sex ratio refers to number of females per 1000 males who are born in the age group of 0 to 6 years. Now it's important to note that as per the census of 2001, the child sex ratio in India was 927, and this child sex ratio in India decreased to 919 as per the census of 2011. So the aspect to increase the marrying age among women will be looked by the committee with respect to these parameters, namely infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, total fertility rate, sex ratio at birth as well as child sex ratio. And based on these understandings and statistics in India, the committee will come to certain conclusion. Now this article also highlights certain problems in children, especially with respect to early marriage of women. And two major problems is stunting as well as wasting. Now as you can see in this picture, stunting refers to less height as compared to a normal age, whereas wasting refers to less weight as compared to a normal age. So children born to women because of early marriage may be either wasted or stunted. And these two are one of the biggest causes of undernourishment in a child. Thus, the committee will also look into the aspect of wasting as well as stunting with respect to increasing the marriage age of women from present 18 years. Now, the aspect of marriage comes within the personal laws in India, and we know that the personal laws in India are governed by different religions. So, in this regard, let's go through some of the laws with respect to restriction on age of marriage. Now, here you must understand that the minimum age of marriage is distinct or different from the age of majority, which is gender neutral. And an individual attains the age of majority at 18 years as per the Indian Majority Act of 1875. So, attaining majority and attaining the age of marriage are two different things, and this aspect should be understood very clearly. And this aspect has been provided under Indian Majority Act of 1875, which says that an individual attains the age of majority at 18 years. And also, the minimum age for voting for both men and women is 18 years as per Article 326 of the Indian Constitution. Further, the Special Marriage Act 1954 and Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006 also prescribes for 18 years and 21 years as minimum age of consent for marriage for women and men respectively. So 18 years is the minimum age for women and 21 years is the minimum age for men with respect to consent for marriage. Further, it also provides for Child Marriage Restraint Act 1929. Now, this act, when enacted in 1929, had set the age of 16 years for women and 18 years for men as minimum age of marriage for girls and boys respectively. And this law is also popularly referred as the Sarda Act. However, this law was eventually amended in 1978 to prescribe 18 and 21 years as the age of marriage for women as well as man respectively. Further, for Hindus, the age of marriage is regulated through the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, which again sets 18 years as the minimum age for the women and 21 years as the minimum age for the man. Further, with respect to Indian Christian Marriage Act 1872, it also prescribes the same minimum age, that is 21 years for men and 18 years for women. However, with respect to Islam, the marriage of a minor who has attained puberty is considered valid. So we see that most of the religions, including Hindus and Christians, have prescribed 21 and 18 years respectively for men and women. However, in Islam, the marriage of a minor who has attained puberty is considered valid. So we see that apart from Islam, most of the religions have set the minimum prescribed age for marriage for women at 18 years. Now further, this news highlights about certain challenges with respect to increasing the marriage age for girls. First is that the news says that it might criminalize marriage prior to 21 years for women, and this may increase hardship for women. So in this aspect, the National Coalition Advocating for Adolescent Concerns on behalf of 21 NGOs has submitted a report to the task force which asserts that increasing the legal age of marriage for girls will only artificially expand the numbers of married persons who are deemed underage, and this will criminalize the entire activity and render underage married girls without legal protection. So this coalition of 21 NGO has suggested to the government to rather increase girls' access to education and health, create enabling opportunities, and place girls' empowerment at the center, as this will not only delay the age of marriage but will also lead to a long-term positive health and education outcomes. So this committee has highlighted the importance of providing education to girls, which will ultimately lead to positive health outcomes. Further, the NGOs have called for need for awareness about safe sex, access to reproductive health information, improving access to education, and retaining girls in the education system so that they are able to transition from elementary to secondary education, and beyond which they can also delay their marriage. So the focus has been to provide education which will further lead to positive health outcomes for women. So, as a way forward, we can say that while legal enactment to prevent child marriages is necessary, we must also simultaneously work towards keeping girls in school, invest in economic and social empowerment of women and girls, as well as focus on targeted social and behavior change communication campaigns to put an end to this harmful practice of early marriage in women. So, overall, this article ends up saying that emphasizing on education is the key to extend or delay marriage among women. So, this topic becomes very important from our prelims as well as from our mains perspective. In your mains, it gets covered under GS1 as well as GS paper 2. Whereas in your prelims, it gets covered under rights issues as well as social development and social sector initiatives. Now this topic also becomes important. As you can see, number of questions have been asked in GS paper 1 in the year 2018 and 2019. The question asked in the year 2018 was, women's movement in India has not addressed the issues of women of lower social strata. Substantiate your view. This question carried 15 marks and was to be answered in 250 words. The question asked in 2019 was, empowering women is the key to control population growth. Discuss. This question was asked in 10 marks and was to be answered in 150 words. And another question was asked in 2019, which was, what are the continued challenges for women in India against time and space? And this question carried 15 marks and was to be answered in 250 words. So we understand that the issue of extending the age of marriage for women becomes an important aspect with respect to women emancipation in India. So in this regard, this article becomes very important from our prelims as well as mains perspective, as UPSC has already asked questions particularly with respect to challenges to women as well as in controlling population growth. So with this, let's move on to our next article for discussion. The next news to be discussed also appears on page number 7, and this news is also with respect to another announcement made by the Prime Minister of India on the eve of India's independence on 15th August 2020. Now this news is with respect to Digital Health Mission as announced by the Prime Minister of India. So, the National Digital Health Mission, as announced by the Prime Minister of India, aims to provide a national health card to all the citizens of India. And this national health card will contain all health related information about the citizens, including their health records. Further, the National Health Authority, which is an attached office of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, will design, build, roll out and implement the National Digital Health Mission. So this National Digital Health Mission will aim or help to create a national digital health ecosystem in the country. And accordingly, it will help to provide timely and efficient access to inclusive, affordable as well as safe healthcare to all citizens. So these three words becomes your key terms if a question is asked with respect to National Digital Health Mission, that you must say that this will help to provide timely and efficient access to inclusive, affordable and safe healthcare system for all citizens of India. Further, the mission will help to improve efficiency, effectiveness and transparency of healthcare services in India. So this again becomes another key aspects with respect to National Digital Health Mission. Further, it will also help to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 3rd, that is, the goal to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. So, the National Digital Health Mission also aims to achieve SDG Goal 3. Now, we can also say that the National Digital Health Mission is based on the idea floated by Niti Aayog in the form of National Health Stack, as the Niti Aayog suggested some of the important aspects with respect to having a national health stack. And this particular paper was published by Niti Aayog in the year 2018. And based on this, the government has come up with a National Digital Health Mission. So these can be said to be some of the important aspects with respect to National Digital Health Mission as proposed by the Prime Minister of India on the eve of Independence Day. Further, the news also highlights about the nature of National Digital Health Mission. It says that the mission will be a voluntary program to reduce the gap among stakeholders such as doctors, hospitals and other healthcare providers, and this will be achieved by connecting them in an integrated digital health infrastructure. Further, it highlights about core building blocks of National Digital Health Mission such as Health ID, DigiDoctor, and Health Facility Registry shall be owned, operated, and maintained by the Government of India. Now, this aspect becomes important, especially with respect to the core building blocks of National Digital Health Mission, as this core building block has been inspired from the Niti Aayog report of National Health Stack. It says that in this document, Niti Aayog has presented the idea of a national health stack, which is a digital infrastructure built with a deep understanding of the incentive structures which is prevalent in Indian healthcare ecosystem. So, the national health stack is a set of building blocks which are essential in implementing digital health initiatives, and this would be built as a common public good to avoid duplication of efforts and successfully achieve convergence. So, when the government rolls out national health card, it might also be linked to our Aadhaar card. So, this aspect also becomes important with respect to the national health card, which will be rolled under the National Digital Health Mission, as it may be linked to the Aadhaar card. It further says that private stakeholders will have an equal opportunity to integrate with these building blocks and create their own products. However, the core activities and verifications, such as generation of health ID or approval of a doctor or facility, shall remain with the government. So, these can be said to be some of the important aspects with respect to National Digital Health Mission. Further, the report says that the National Health Stack will be built for NHPS, that is National Health Protection Scheme, but it will be designed beyond National Health Protection Scheme as an enabler for rapid development of diverse solutions in health and their adoption by states. So, in this regard, first of all, the National Digital Health Mission will be rolled out in the union territories, and then it will be rolled out in the states concerned. Now, to understand about National Digital Health Mission, it is also important to go through the key components of National Health Stack as was suggested by Niti Aayog. So, the key components of National Health Stack included a National Health Electronic Registries to create a master health data for the country. Second, coverage and claims platform to support health protection schemes in the country. Now, the coverage and claims platform was also supposed to have a large health protection scheme, enable horizontal and vertical expansion of Rashtra Swasthya Suraksha Mission, and also robust fraud detection. So, these were the important aspects with respect to coverage and claims platform. Next, to create a federated personal health records framework. And this was to be done to solve the twin problems of access of one's health data, and second, to facilitate medical research by collection of such medical data, as such medical research would have advanced our understanding of human health. Next, to have a national health analytics platform to bring holistic view, combining information on multiple health initiatives and feed into smart policy making for the future. And lastly, it also included other horizontal components, which included a unique digital health ID, health data dictionaries, supply chain management for drugs, and also payment gateways shared across all health programs. So these can be said to be some of the important components of National Health Stack as was suggested by Niti Aayog. So these key components as suggested by National Health Stack by Niti Aayog becomes important with respect to national healthcare ecosystem. Thus, this topic becomes important primarily from your mains perspective under GS paper 2, as it gets covered with respect to issues relating to health, and in your prelims examination it gets covered under social sector initiatives. So, after understanding about National Digital Health Mission, let's move on to our next news discussion. The next news to be discussed appears on page number 11 in the science section. It says T cell immunity prevents recurrent severe COVID-19 disease. Study shows that previously unanticipated degree of population level immunity against COVID-19. So the study highlighted in this article suggests that once a person has been infected with mild COVID-19, then it can prevent further recurrence of the disease. And this is because the immune system of the person develops robust, broad and highly functional memory T cell responses. Now this development of T cell responses is specifically with respect to COVID-19. Further, the study shows that the specific T cells were also found in people who were recovering from disease and such people who had history of asymptomatic infection and also mild COVID-19. Further, specific T cells with respect to COVID-19 was also found in family members who were exposed to the virus but had tested negative with respect to antibody test. So it is in this regard this article says that such people who have developed T cells response specific to coronavirus, then it is very unlikely that the disease will recur again. Now, with respect to T cells, T cell is a type of lymphocyte which develops in the thymus gland, and that's why the name is T cell. Now, the T cell plays a very important role in the immune response system. Further, the T cells can be distinguished from other lymphocytes by the presence of a T cell receptor on the cell surface. And these immune cells originate as precursor cells, which is derived from bone marrow, and then develop into several distinct type of T cells once they have migrated to the thymus gland. Now both T cells as well as B cells forms part of lymphocytes, and both B cells and T cells are responsible for immune responses in the body. Now as you can see in this diagram that lymphocytes are a kind of agranulocytes, and these agranulocytes as well as granulocytes are part of white blood cell, or are also referred as leukocytes. So overall we can say that leukocytes or white blood cells can be further subdivided into granulocytes as well as agranulocytes. Now there are three types of granulocytes, that is neutrophils, eosinophils as well as basophils. Of the three, neutrophils is the most abundant cells of white blood cells and basophils are the least abundant cells of the white blood cells. And among agranulocytes, it is further subdivided into lymphocytes as well as monocytes. And lymphocytes are further subdivided into B cells as well as T cells. And both B cells and T cells are responsible for immune responses. So this diagram becomes important from our prelims perspective. So it is in this regard this article mentions about development of robust memory T cell responses with respect to COVID-19. As specific T cells were developed in such people even months after they were infected by the virus, and T cell responses have also been found even in the absence of antibodies specific for SARS-CoV-2. So this article says that this indicates unanticipated degree of population level immunity against COVID-19, especially with the presence of robust memory T cell responses developed in the person. And this overall suggests that potent adaptive immunity is maintained to provide protection against severe reinfection because of the presence of T cell responses in the body. However, this research cannot be solely relied upon as it has been done on a very small sample size. Still, this aspect of T cell responses becomes evident in the fight against coronavirus. So from your examination perspective, you should know about T cell responses specific to fight coronavirus. As specific T cell responses are also found in people who are recovering from the disease and who have history of asymptomatic infection and mild COVID-19, and also in such people who have tested negative for antibody test, especially with respect to COVID-19. So in this regard, the immune response with respect to specific T cell responses becomes important from our prelims and mains perspective with respect to coronavirus. So this topic gets covered under GS paper 3, especially with respect to science and technology, and in your prelims gets covered under general science. So after understanding about T cell responses, let us move to the next news of discussion. Now the next news to be discussed also appears on page number 11 in the science section. It says, the milk puzzle. Lactase persistence is the continued activity in adults of enzyme lactase whose role is to digest lactose, which is a sugar found in milk and other dairy products. It says that paradoxically, most pastoralists don't have the ability to digest milk beyond infancy. So in this regard, a recent study has suggested that Central Asians adapted either by fermenting milk or by selecting bifidobacteria as part of their gut microbiota. So in this regard, let us understand about bifidobacteria and also about the lactase enzyme, as both these becomes important from our upcoming prelims examination. So with respect to bifidobacteria, it says that it is a kind of probiotics that lives in the intestine as well as stomach, and it helps in digestion and removing harmful bacteria. So basically it's a good bacteria as it is a probiotics. Now, probiotics can be defined as a living microorganisms that, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. And in this regard, the bifidobacteria have been commercially exploited as a probiotic agents due to their associated health benefits, and it also has a GRAS status, that is generally recognized as safe status. Now, bifidobacteria are among the first microbes to colonize human gastrointestinal tract, and it also provides us positive health benefit. Further, bifidobacteria has also been incorporated into foods as active ingredients, and research is being carried on as it also helps to treat certain diseases with respect to gastrointestinal tracts. So these can be said to be some of the important facts about bifidobacteria. So this term becomes important from your prelims perspective, as questions can be asked with respect to the fact that the term bifidobacteria has been in news recently, and these can be the following advantages or disadvantages of bifidobacteria. Now, with respect to lactase enzyme, the important part is that the LCT gene provides instruction to make lactase enzyme in the body, as the lactase enzyme helps to digest lactose. Now, lactose is a sugar which is found in milk and other dairy products, and lactose intolerance in adults is caused by decreasing activity of LCT gene. So, with respect to lactase enzyme, we must know about the LCT gene, as LCT gene provides instruction to make lactase enzyme which helps in digesting lactose. So in this context, you must know the function of LCT gene, as it provides instruction to make lactase enzyme which helps in digesting lactose. And decreasing activity of LCT genes can be associated with lactose intolerance in adults. So in this particular news, both these terms becomes important, that is bifidobacteria as well as lactase enzyme along with LCT gene. Now this topic becomes important from the perspective of general science in your prelims examination, and your mains gets covered under GS paper 3, especially with respect to science and technology. The next news to be discussed appears in the section of FAQ on page number 12. The news says, hurdles to Naga peace. Why is the main rebel outfit upset? What is the government interlocutor's stand on the framework agreement? So this particular news highlights about certain hurdles which have come into place with respect to Naga peace accord, as the Naga peace accord was settled as per the Naga framework of 2015. So overall, this news highlights about various hurdles which the Naga peace deal is currently going through, and it is because of certain aspects or demands of NSC and IM. So let's go through the important aspects which is creating as a hurdle or which has become a hurdle with respect to Naga peace accord. So it says that for the first time since signing of the Naga framework agreement of 2015 with the Modi government, Naga chief has said that Naga flag and the Naga constitution were non-negotiable, and that the agreement included the idea of unification of all Naga inhabited areas across Assam, Arunachal Pradesh and Manipur. So basically the chief of NSC and IM has said, or rather demanded, for a Naga flag, a separate Naga constitution, and also unification of all Naga inhabited areas across Assam, Arunachal Pradesh as well as Manipur. Now it also means territorial realignment of states in order to provide the idea of greater Nagalim as demanded by NSC and IM. Now the government of India is not in a view to accept this demand of a Naga constitution and also territorial realignment of Assam, Arunachal Pradesh and Manipur, so that NSCN can have their greater Nagalim. So the demands of NSCM-IM can be categorized as following, that is greater Nagalim with respect to division of three states of Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur and Assam, separate constitution, a separate flag, shared coexistence as a sovereign entity, and also the fact that NSC and IM wants a solution for Greater Nagalim outside the purview of the Constitution of India. Now, based on these demands, the Government of India had ruled out a separate constitution and has also said that three states will not be further divided territorially so that NSC and IM can have their Greater Nagalim. So these can be said to be some of the hurdles with respect to finalizing of the Naga Framework Agreement of 2015. Further, the NSC and IM has clarified that do not want any participation of Nagaland Governor R.N. Ravi in the peace deal, who had earlier signed the 2015 Framework Agreement on behalf of Government of India. As according to NSC and IM, Governor Ravi has twisted certain important aspects with respect to the Framework Agreement. Further, the NSC and IM chief has said that flag and constitution are the ingredients of Naga's recognized sovereign entity and symbols of Naga nationhood. So clearly he's talking about a Naga nationhood, and this aspect of shared sovereignty is not acceptable to the Government of India. This 5-page statement issued by NSC and IM says that the Governor of Nagaland has twisted the framework agreement and has misled the Parliamentary Standing Committee on the steps taken to solve the Naga issue. Further, according to NSC and IM, the Governor of Nagaland has written that the framework agreement talked of a solution within India rather than with India. So clearly NSC and IM does not want any solution within India, rather they want a solution with India as a shared sovereign entity. Further, the NSC and IM has claimed that Governor Ravi has referred Nagas as armed gangs running a parallel government. So based on these charges, the NSC and IM wants to remove Governor Ravi from the ongoing peace process. However, there are other aspects as well. Another faction, that is Naga National Political Group, which is a gathering of 7 rival groups and some social organization, does not want Governor Ravi to be removed and rather wants Governor Ravi to stay in the peace process. So we understand that the views and ideologies of NSC and IM is not completely in sync with other rival groups such as Naga National Political Groups. Another hurdle to the peace deal is that the NSC and IM chief has said that the word new is very important in the agreement, as the term new strongly indicated a settlement outside the purview of the Constitution of India. Whereas according to Governor Ravi, the framework agreement was an acceptance of the Indian Constitution by the Naga outfit. And this aspect is clearly not acceptable to NSC and IM, as they want a solution for Greater Nagalim outside the Constitution of India. In this regard, Muiva said that the 2015 agreement was signed on the principle of coexistence and shared sovereignty, and the Government of India through the framework agreement recognizes the sovereignty of the Nagas. Now, according to NSC and IM chief, the agreement also mentions about an inclusive, peaceful coexistence of the two entities who share sovereign power. And Muiva explains that by inclusive, it means all Nagas in different administrative units and political camps are to be included in the agreement, and coexistence of two entities is self-explanatory, that is, two sovereign entity, and says that it means two peoples and nations will coexist. So clearly, this aspect is also not acceptable so far to the Government of India, and all these aspects are creating a sort of a hurdle to Naga Peace Accord. Now, another problem with the peace deal is that on the Independence Day speech of Muiva, he said that Nagas will never merge with India. However, there are other aspects with respect to this framework agreement or a peace deal. Now, this news highlights about Tangkhul community, which also forms the core of NSC and IM, and it is from Manipur. Now, in this regard, this news says that the Tangkhul community, who is from Manipur, may not accept this framework deal, which excludes any area inhabited by them, as the Government of India is not ready to merge those areas of Assam, Manipur and Arunachal Pradesh which is inhabited by Nagas. And in this regard, this news says that Tangkhul community forms the core of NSC and IM, and they may not accept the deal which excludes any area which is inhabited by them. Further, the news says that political inputs from Naga National Political Group may be different from the solution provided by NSCN-IM, and this may also lead to greater hurdles with respect to signing of the Framework Agreement of 2015. As the NSCN-IM wants a greater Naga limb, a separate constitution, a separate flag, shared coexistence as sovereign entity, and also wants solution outside the purview of the Constitution of India. So these can be said to be some of the hurdles to Naga Framework Agreement of 2015. Now this topic becomes important both from your prelims as well as from your mains perspective. In your prelims, it gets covered under Indian polity and governance, and in your mains gets covered under GS paper 2 as well as GS paper 3. Now after a discussion, this becomes your question for the day. The question is, which of the statements given below are correct? Options are: first, neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils, lymphocytes and monocytes are part of white blood cells. Second, T cells are responsible for immune responses. So the question is, select the correct answer using the code given below. Options are A, 1 only, B, 2 only, C, both 1 and 2, and D, neither 1 nor 2. Now coming to the answer of yesterday, that is 15th August 2020. The question was, consider the following statements. UAE shares land border with two countries. Second, UAE lies completely in the northern hemisphere. Now both these statements are correct, hence the correct answer is 1 and 2, that is C. Now as you can see in this map, that UAE shares land border with Saudi Arabia on one hand and Oman with the other hand, and UAE lies completely in the northern hemisphere. Hence, in this regard, the correct answer here is C, that is 1 and 2. So with this, we come to an end to today's discussion. Thank you.